Right then, lads, let's talk tanks, specifically two Soviet behemoths, the T-72 and the T-80. Picture the Cold War, tensions are high, the Iron Curtain divides Europe, and both sides are itching for a scrap. The Soviets, never ones to be outdone in the armour department, were churning out tanks like they were going out of fashion. And these two bad boys were at the forefront. First up, the T-72. Born in 1973, this was the workhorse, the grunt, the everyman's tank, designed to be simple, reliable, and cheap to produce. The Soviets knew they'd need a lot of them if things got a bit tasty with NATO. Then came the T-80 in 1976. This was a different beast altogether. Sleek, sophisticated, and powered by a jet engine. Yes, you heard that right, a jet engine. This was the high-performance sports car of the tank world. Expensive, yes, but boy could it shift. Both tanks were designed to steamroll NATO forces in a hypothetical World War III. They were armed to the teeth and built to withstand anything the West could throw at them. At least, that was the plan. So what made these two tanks tick? Let's start with the T-72. It was all about practicality. It had a diesel engine like a trusty tractor, which was simple to maintain and could run on pretty much anything. It was also relatively compact, making it easier to hide and transport. The T-80, on the other hand, was all about speed. That jet engine gave it incredible acceleration, allowing it to zip across the battlefield like a scolded cat. It also had advanced composite armor, making it tougher than the T-72. But that fancy engine came with a price. It was a gas guzzler, and I mean a real thirsty beast. It was also more complex and expensive to maintain. Think of it like this, the T-72 was a reliable old Land Rover, while the T-80 was a high-strung Ferrari. Both tanks packed a serious punch, though. They both sported a 125mm smoothbore gun that could fire armor-piercing rounds and even guided missiles. And both featured an auto-loader, which meant they only needed a crew of 3. Now let's talk about where the rubber meets the road. Actual combat. The T-72 has seen more action than a Hollywood stuntman. It's been in pretty much every major conflict since the 1970s, from the Iran-Iraq War to the Syrian Civil War. This tank has been through the ringer. The T-80's combat record is a bit more patchy. It saw some action in the Soviet-Afghan War, but it really made a name for itself during the Chechen Wars. However, it didn't exactly cover itself in glory there. Its high fuel consumption and vulnerability to anti-tank weapons were exposed. One incident that stands out is the Battle of Grozny in 1995. Chechen rebels armed with RPGs made mincemeat of Russian T-80s in the city's narrow streets. It was a stark reminder that even the most advanced tank can be vulnerable in the wrong environment. This brings us to the strengths and weaknesses of each tank. The T-72, with its low profile and decent mobility, is surprisingly adept in urban environments. It's also relatively easy to maintain and repair, even in the field. The T-80, with its speed and advanced armor, is more suited to open warfare. On a flat battlefield, it can outrun and outmaneuver most opponents. However, its thirst for fuel and delicate engine make it a liability in prolonged engagements. Think of it this way. The T-72 is a street fighter, tough and tenacious. The T-80 is a Grand Prix racer, fast and flashy, but not so good in the corners. Now for the elephant in the room, the jack-in-the-box effect. Both the T-72 and T-80 have a rather nasty design flaw. Their ammunition is stored in the turret, which means that if the tank takes a hit there, the whole thing can explode like a firework. This is not ideal, to say the least. It's one of the main reasons why both tanks have suffered heavy losses in recent conflicts. It's a sobering reminder that even the most powerful weapons can have fatal flaws. Section 6 upgrades, galore, modernization, and continued relevance. Despite their flaws, both the T-72 and T-80 are still in service today. Why? Because they're relatively cheap, they're easy to upgrade, and frankly, there are just so many of them. Both tanks have undergone numerous upgrades over the years, with improved armor, engines, and fire control systems. For example, the T-72B3M is a serious piece of kit, with explosive reactive armor and a new engine that gives it a decent turn of speed. The T-80 has also received a new lease on life, with the T-80 BVM featuring improved armor and a more fuel-efficient engine. So even though these tanks are getting a bit long in the tooth, they're not going away anytime soon. Section 7. Around the world, exports and global impact. Both the T-72 and T-80 have been exported all over the shop. From Angola to Venezuela, you'll find these tanks rumbling around. This has had a significant impact on global conflicts, as these tanks have often found themselves on opposing sides. It's a bit like a family feud, really. You've got two brothers, both tough as nails, but they just can't seem to get along, and now they're fighting it out on the world stage. The proliferation of these tanks has also raised concerns about arms control and the potential for escalation in regional conflicts. It's a complex issue with no easy answers. Section 8, the future of the Titans, predictions and possibilities. So what does the future hold for these two aging warriors? Well, it's unlikely they'll be leading the charge in any future conflicts. Modern tanks like the Russian T-14 Armata are simply more advanced. However, the T-72 and T-80 will likely continue to soldier on in various roles for many years to come. They could be used for training, border patrols, or even as mobile pillboxes. And who knows, we might even see some more radical upgrades in the future. Maybe someone will finally find a way to fix that pesky jack-in-the-box problem. Stranger things have happened. Section 9. Conclusion. Legends of the battlefield. Love them or hate them, the T-72 and T-80 are two of the most iconic tanks ever built. They represent a bygone era of tank warfare, where brute force and raw firepower reigned supreme. They may not be the most sophisticated or advanced tanks on the battlefield today, but they're certainly among the most numerous and battle-tested. And in the end, isn't that what really matters? So there you have it, lads. The T-72 and T-82 Soviet titans forever locked in a battle for supremacy. And who knows, maybe one day they'll meet again on the battlefield. Now, where's my tea?